Now, there might be more cases, and of course, it's going to happen that, let's say, these out-of-the-box templates, let's say, are just initial starters, right? They will not meet all possible need of yours. Specifically, let's say you have a SQL statement built already, right? So this is one example. And by the way, I'm sure if you're using the SQL Connect already, but I use the SQL Connect to develop this SQL statement in advance, and it basically is showing me all my employees, which job they work in, how many years in the job they have been, right? So I just built that SQL statement out of it. And you can use SQL Connect to actually build the statements and run it and test it and such. But once you have the SQL statement, you can actually paste that SQL statement into this Excel plugin and turn it into a report, right? So I just pasted my SQL statement here. I just took it from SQL Connect, pasted it here, and you can even do formatting, right? So now you see how it is slightly out of sync here, but if you click on Format SQL, it makes it nice, beautiful, easy to read. It gives, nice syntax highlighting. So it's a pretty fancy, right? It's right inside of this Excel workbook that is, right? And give it a name, right? Let's say OHUG demo, and I will just suffix it with my name. You can even say validate query. Oh, let's say it's a human resource report. Validate. It will check your SQL syntax. And then basically what it's doing is you are able to paste your SQL statements here and then turn it into a report. So I can save it. And of course, if you have no idea what this is, but just bear with me, which just basically tells the fact that you don't deal with SQL so much, which is good. But if you do, then this will actually simplify quite a bit of things, right? So there you go. So I just wrote my SQL statement, then immediately lands me into this report editor. And I can actually drag and drop those columns, actually pre-selects all those columns from my SQL statement. And it's turning it into a report as we speak. So you might say that I want a filter for the job, drag and drop, right? So when I run this report now, I will be prompted for a job name. I can say that sort it alphabetically by job name, maybe even create a pivot table, everything drag and drop, right? So I can say that by the job name, show me how many people work in those jobs, and then filter maybe also by position name, right? So it doesn't hurt, right? So we can put that way, right? So something like that. And then finally, give this report a name. Okay. I'm going to suffix again with my initials, and I can say that it produces an Excel output, right? So there you go. And now if I save it, and there it is, right? So once it saves, it just became a report, right? Report saved successfully. And I can actually go in back to my reports menu. And that's my report I just created using just a SQL statement, right? So you can just click on run, and it will actually run like a regular report that I showed you with the job name filter. If you remember, we created that, and it will auto select. It will pre-populate these job names from your environment, and it will actually show you all, right? But if I can absolutely go and run this without wide open, pretty much no job names, right? So just hit submit. So if I did this, it is actually taking my SQL statement. It sent that SQL statement to the Oracle Fusion applications, and it's running that SQL statement there, right? So, and of course, much like BI Publisher, that SQL statement needs to be a valid SQL statement, no syntax error and such. But this gives you a nice UI, so to speak, to actually run those SQLs, and it brings all the data. So there it is. This is the result of my SQL statement. I just turned into a report. And the pivot table also created. So you will see that by the job, by the position, excuse me, and how many people are in those positions, right? So I have my report, I have my pivot table, all inside the same workbook. And now if I go to rerun the reports, you will see there is 3 now, because I have 3 reports in my workbook right now. And same thing, I can select new filters if I want to, and just hit resubmit, right? So basically, if I do something like this we believe significantly simplifies the reporting process, the overall reporting process, because everything is presented inside of Excel. And that too, even your BI Publisher reporting, right? So if the BI Publisher report is like a tabular report that brings data, you can even run, it will even show you those reports, and you can execute those reports, all of it inside of Excel, retains all your formulas and such, just like I described.